Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Backstage Spotlight. Today we have with us for a SuperYou special, Jenna.
Hi,
How are you?
doing great.
Thank you for joining me all the way over in the US. What time is it for you?
It is 2:30 p.m. in New York City.
Wow. So for those people who don't know you, would you like to introduce yourself and then say what link you have with the show?
Great, yeah. My name is Jenna Rubaii. I am from Clearwater, Florida. I live in New York City now. And just last year, about like 8, 9 months ago, actually more than that, I did the first world premiere of Super You in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I played Blast.
Amazing. Do you want to tell us a bit about your character?
Yeah, super fun. I got to play the punk rock superhero.
So
So
fun.
Blast was for people that will most people know about the show
I mean, it
or
will be a
maybe not.
mixture, yeah. Some will, some won't.
Katie, the lead character, has illustrated these superheroes in our production based off of younger friends from her childhood. And mine is a punk rock superhero. And my character is based off of like her creative fire, is there to ignite the fire within her and unleash her creative power again.
How was it playing that part? Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. So fun. I was like jumping off boxes and doing knee slides, and like it just got to live in my most like rock and roll moment,
Yeah.
rock star experience.
What a cool character to play. What songs were your favorite to perform?
I did love my solo, but I think when all the superheroes come together, it's really special because we all get to shine in our own unique way. And I think it's also fun for the audience to see um, the specific differences between the four of us, juxtaposed with like what Katie's going through in her mind, because we are figments of her imagination and or parts of herself. So I think it's fun to be able to interact with the other superheroes in the moment and kind of like be live authentically in our characters all together.
Yeah, it's so nice. What does the show mean to you? What's its message?
I personally always like to think of it as an artist's journey of like finding their creative self again. And I mean, there's so many layers to the show. It touches on grief, it touches on finding yourself, owning your own power. But I personally think that it's really powerful as an artist to see a story about an artist finding their own way and finding who they are artistically again. I think that all of us can really relate to that. And I think that it's a really special part of the story that might sometimes be a little bit overlooked and overshadowed by the bigger events that happen.
Yeah. And when you had audience coming to watch the show, what's your most memorable thing that they said about it?
Hmm. I think that they loved that it touches on individualism. It's all about being authentically you and being, no matter what that means, if you're feeling different or if you're an outcast, or it's all about like living in your truth. And I think that a lot of audience members feel that and love that. And it not only like helps people recognize like that they should be proud of who they are. But I think that in a funny way, even though that's like a very individual experience, that it's also a very collective experience and it brings people together in that way. It's kind of like let your freak flag fly and like be who you are. And I think that people love that. It's liberating.
Yeah, it really is. It's such an empowering story, and having those audience responses really shows that the message is going across, and it's such a nice thing for audiences to come together, as you just said. Um, Touching
Yeah.
on your performance background, how did you get into performing?
Ooh, my journey's long. I was singing since I could talk, but I joined an all-girls song and dance group in Tampa, Florida when I was 6.
Wow.
So from 6 years old, yeah, 6 years old up until 18, we were allowed to be in the group until then, and I grew up with, like, dozens of sisters essentially from people that were older than me. And then when I became the older cast member, I had younger people looking up to me. And I just have this complete sisterhood of people that they're still my best friends to this day. But we performed professionally around the country, and I sang national anthems for dozens of sporting events. And that's what got me into performing. It kind of we like to say it's kind of like Glee meets Mickey Mouse Club.
I love that.
Yeah, like tons of costume changes, medleys of songs that you know and love. And yeah, and then in high school I got into drama, but I wasn't into theater before high school really. Um, and so my world is a mix between like pop rock, just singing, and then theater. And then I went to college for musical theater at the University of Miami in Miami, Florida. And then right out of college, funny enough, I booked American Idiot, Green Day's American Idiot, the international and national tour with Kennedy Coggle, who is the lead of
Wow.
SuperYou. Mm-hmm. So we go way back. So we were really, really happy to be doing the show together again. It was our first time performing together since, yeah, like 12 years ago.
Wow. And
Yeah.
how do you find audition processes? What's your sort of routine when you get an audition through?
Ooh, well, things have changed so much since the pandemic.
Yeah, it's all
So it's
digital.
so weird to be virtual. I still don't really like it.
Mm.
I like being able to just like go in, get it done with, and kind of reflect on that moment as opposed to looking back at yourself 1,000 times and psychoanalyzing how you did something. um, but it changes. I think it depends on the project and what it is, what they're requesting for you to do. For Super You, it was I just had to sing the my song, a snippet of my solo for the show, and yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it for me is like how you're dressing for the role that you're going in for, and kind of like what essence you're giving off for the character. Like that's always inspiring to me.
Yeah, and kind of giving that casting team a vision of what you would bring to the role.
Yeah, yeah. But again, it's also different on tape because they're only going to see probably a certain uh, amount of you as opposed to the whole look from head to toe. But um,
Yeah.
but I think that's helpful too, and kind of like, oh well, how do I want to feel?
Mm.
Um, and also like, how do I do it in a subtle way so it's not like too
Over the
much?
top. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
What's your favorite job that you've ever had in the performance industry?
Mm, it's so hard. Every single one is so unique, and I've had some really, really cool experiences. Um, I think, I mean, I just because it is still very recent, kind of one of my most recent things, and it was because of the pandemic and so drawn out. Doing the 50th anniversary tour of Jesus Christ Superstar was really special,
Wow.
and what my cast went through, and that's a show that production came from London, and
Yeah.
just like having that experience pre-pandemic, pandemic, it was like the only constant in our lives during the pandemic. Like we knew that it was going to come back. We just didn't know when. And then experienced it again post pandemic and beyond. Thought it was going to be a part of our lives for a year, and then it turned into 3.
Yeah, that time was just crazy for the whole world. I think no one knew what was going on. We all just thought 2 weeks at home and then everything would be back to normal. But the length we all went through just being at home was just next level, and it will go down in history, that time. But what did you do in that time when we didn't have that creative outlet of being on stage? How did you use your time?
A lot of it was like letting myself relax because I was on tour for a moment. And we were reaching a point in the tour where it was starting to feel pretty exhausted. Like we were feeling physically and emotionally drained. Um, and I kind of let myself chill out for a moment. At the time, I was with my co-star, and so we did some little musical duets here and there throughout the time we were together in the pandemic. But I let myself. We were lucky enough to be in a place where we could take some hikes. We had lots of bonfires.
Nice.
um, be outside as much as possible, thankfully, because a lot of people didn't have the luxury of being able to like go out. It was really, really incredible to be like somewhere that felt like there was space and nature and we felt safe enough to like do those sort of activities. But I also eventually started dabbling in, I started learning Arabic.
Wow.
Um, yeah.
And how did you get on?
And I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about how I learn,
Mm,
how I talk to myself as an adult when you're learning something new, and like giving yourself a little bit more grace when you're feeling like you're not doing great, you know?
that's really interesting.
um, yeah, yeah. And honestly, I let myself kind of like do whatever I needed to do in the moment because it was such a chaotic time. I did let myself rest a little bit.
Yeah, I think
Some
that's
minor
really
creating,
important.
but yeah, a lot of reflection and like really necessary reflection and just honestly trying to survive.
Yeah, a lot of people were the same. So how do you think
Yeah.
the London's West End, how do you think it compares to Broadway?
Uh, well, I feel like now everything's coming from the West End. I feel like y'all are inspiring America. How does it compare? I feel like London is so much more like the people in the UK are so much more, and Europe really, like, or even worldwide outside of the US, are so much more open to creative experiences. Whereas like America is very hesitant, or maybe not, I don't know why it is. Maybe it's our culture. Um, we are just a little bit, it feels a little more simple minded.
Right,
No
yeah.
one really wants to like think too hard or see something artistic. And I feel like London takes more risks
Yeah, it's
than
interesting you say that because at the moment, London is going through some sort of like transition where so many musicals are coming from workshops and new ideas are coming through, and there are so many coming at the moment. And I wondered, like, is that the same over in America?
it's happening. But I think that to the level of production, it's less likely that it sees a big commercial product.
Yeah, right. And because obviously like SuperYou has been in like the process for a while, and coming over to
Mhm.
the UK I feel has been a great move for it because UK audiences are going crazy for it, as American audiences have been too. But what do you think the future holds in the UK for SuperYou?
Well, I just got to see a bunch of our creative team the other night and my cast members, and they seemed to be really happy about Lords was really excited about how it was received in London and feels very optimistic about it being there. She said it was so cool to have like fans lined up that already know the show because it does have a little bit of a following and um that's really beautiful. I hope
Yeah.
that it's I hope that it has a nice life there and then it can come over here again.
Yeah. If it did get a run in the West End, would you come over and see it?
Oh my God, I would love to. I would
Yes.
love to.
And
I went to
oh,
I
go
went
on.
to London last year and saw Groundhog Day because that was my Broadway debut and it came from London.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Andy was doing it again and I was like, I have to see it. And it was like memory lane.
That's so nice. Um, when the show was in America, how many performances did you do?
Ooh, I think we did like 15 to 20.
Wow,
I
that's
think it was a 3 week run.
yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those where when once you're like ending the run, you were just like getting used to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you
One
were
of
just
those.
starting.
And because was it before or after it went on to do there was different concert versions of it and different like developments of the show as it's gone on. Were you involved in those too?
I wasn't. This was my first time with SuperYou, although I'd heard about it for years. I actually auditioned for it like 8 years ago.
Really?
And Kennedy booked Katie, and I was like, oh, this is so perfect for her. And then I was kind of following her journey with it for a while. And then when the audition came up, I was like, yeah, I want to play this. And
Yeah.
Kennedy was like, this would be so fun for us to do together. Um, but I didn't join it until that run. So it was us, and then it was you in the concert version in London. So I was just right before, I was in the cast right before all of you.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
So pretty recent.
Yeah. What do you think, what part do you think social media has played for the show? Because I feel like
Oh,
over
huge.
lockdown, it was immense.
Huge, because the beautiful thing about social media is that it has the ability to connect to people that wouldn't necessarily be able to see it. So, right, like we can hear the music, we can see video footage, we can get personal interactions with people, the creators. Lords can explain the message of it, and then she can create the content um, to be blasted all over the world for people to see it. And um, that's what is really special about social media and the role it's playing in theater and music. Just the accessibility of it.
Yeah, it's really, I think, changing things in the industry nowadays. Wrapping this up then, I've asked a lot of people this from the SuperYou team. If you could create your own SuperYou merch, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, I think we talked about this, and I don't want to. I believe it was a really good idea, but I can't remember. Hold on, I'm thinking. You know what? I'm. This is just where my brain is going. I would say an actual graphic novel.
Yes, Melissa said that. I had Melissa on and she said the exact
Yeah,
same thing. People have requested it.
it would be so cool. And
Yeah.
I think that, the show also hits on a niche of individuals that don't often get like, it's the Comic-Con people. It's the artists and the nerds that loves the metaverse, the superheroes and everything. So it's pretty cool to have that attached to musical theater. I feel like it kind of opens the door to a whole nother group of people that maybe aren't necessarily like super theater fans. They'll
Yeah.
be SuperYou fans.
Yeah, that would be so cool. And lastly,
Yeah.
if you could nominate someone from the Super You team to come on the podcast next, who would it be?
Shelby Griswold.
Okay. I will drop a message. Well,
Yay!
that would be cool. Thank you so much, Jenna. It's been a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to meet you, and yay, SuperYou family.
Yeah. And everyone listening, you've got to check SuperYou Musical out on Instagram, TikTok. It's all there. All the music and the album that's on Spotify. It's like a concept album. So good. You've got to get to know it if you aren't familiar, because it's just a great, great show with a great soundtrack. Stream on Spotify podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube for the rest of the episodes. And we'll see you soon. Thank you, Jenna. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.